everybody? Welcome to Capital of Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today I'm going to preview this Saturday's Bellator mega event in which they have Bellator 180 going on Spike TV and on pay-per-view. So they got two different cards, both stacked with fights. There's about 3 title fights going on the night. One on the free portion, which is Phil Davis defending the light heavyweight title against Ryan Bader. And then on the pay-per-view card, you've got Michael Chandler versus Brent Primus for the lightweight belt. And then the welterweight title fight between Douglas Lima and Lorenz Larkin. The featured bouts of the evening are Fedor Emelianenko versus Matt Mitrione, and the main event is Chael Sonnen versus Wanderlei Silva in a grudge match that's been brewing for years. So those are the fights I'm going to talk about. Also on the free card, you've got Heather Hardy, who is a pro boxing standout, making her MMA debut. And then there's a few more featured fights on the card featuring some up-and-coming guys. So there's plenty of MMA for you to check out on this card. And I'm going to break down the main fights. So I'm going to start from the main card, from the free card main event and move my way up through the pay-per-view card. So Ryan Bader, Phil Davis. This fight right here is a rematch of a fight that they fought, I think it was back in 2014 on the undercard of Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Rumble Johnson. In that fight, Ryan Davis won a split decision. Ryan Bader. I got Ryan Bader and Phil Davis. Never mind. Ryan Bader won a split decision over Phil Davis. Now, both of these guys are standout Division I wrestlers who have done well to translate their game into pro MMA. Both guys have been in title contention for a long time in the UFC. Phil Davis moves over to Bellator, runs through that division like a hot knife through butter, becomes the champ. Now Ryan Bader, coming over from the UFC as well, first fight in, gets a title shot. This should be a highly tactical fight with both guys trying to play to their strengths. Bader has been much more successful in the stand-up game in the mixed martial arts arena than Davis has, but he's also shown great wrestling defense and some good offense when he needs it. Davis likes to use his strikes primarily to get people to the ground and grind them out. I wouldn't say it's quite what they used to call lay and pray, but he will get you into good positions, lay some good strikes on you while on the ground, and just keep you there and control you so he can get the decision victory. Bader looks for knockouts. He's also very highly skilled on the ground. He can get some submissions, but that's not his primary game. He likes to throw the hands. He likes to land them, wear guys down, and stop them. So this is going to be a tight fight, and it's really going to boil down to whether Bader can keep Phil Davis from taking him down, which over the course of 5 rounds, that first fight was in 3, remains to be seen. I haven't seen Bader do a 5-round fight, so I'm not sure if his conditioning is up to par. But being a wrestler, it probably is. But I think he wears down a little bit and gives Davis enough to take that fight in the championship rounds and maybe setting up a 3rd fight between the two. We got a lot of fights to talk about, so I'm going to try to get through these really fast. Next up, on to the pay-per-view portion of the card, we're going to talk about Douglas Lima and Lorenz Larkin. This, skill-wise and matchup-wise, is probably going to be the best fight on the card. Lorenz Larkin has been in 3 different mixed martial arts promotions, 3 major ones, and has been highly competitive in all of them. Douglas Lima is an absolute beast on the feet and on the ground. So Larkin has his hands full. He's also giving up a height and reach advantage but he's a very dynamic and awkward guy that can make things work for him, even though he's kind of short for the division. He can slip pretty well. He's pretty explosive and very powerful. So Lima would be best to keep him on the outside for a while, pepper him with some shots. He's got some brutal leg kicks. He needs to use them on Saturday night. Pepper that lead leg with the leg kicks, make Larkin kind of hesitant to get on the inside, and then maybe go for the finish later on in the fight. Because of Lima's more all-around game, I am leaning towards him to retain the title, but I'm looking for Larkin to make him work for it. And I think that's what's going to happen. I'm taking Douglas Lima in 4 rounds against Larkin. So Michael Chandler is going up against Brent Primus, who is undefeated, but he hasn't really fought anybody of note yet in Bellator. He hasn't fought in over a year, and his last 2 wins were split decisions. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but Michael Chandler has seen just about everybody that you can see in the top of Bellator. He's been at the top of that division for several years and has held the belt on several occasions, and I don't think he's going to relinquish it anytime soon. Unfortunately for Primus, this is probably a bit too soon for him. I don't see this being too competitive given the pedigree of Michael Chandler, the attributes that he has, and just the overall size of this event. I think all of that plays into Chandler's hands, and he takes out Primus probably around the 3rd round, if not earlier. So now let's talk about the 2 feature bouts, which is Matt Mitrione versus Fedor Emelianenko and Chael Sonnen versus Wanderlei Silva. Now with Mitrione and Fedor, you've got a legend versus a mid-level guy who is probably catching Fedor at the right time. This fight was supposed to happen a few months ago, but I think Mitrione got some kidney stones or something like that. He had something where he had to pull out of the fight for a medical reason. But he is much bigger than Fedor. He's got about 3 inches in height, probably about 25 pounds in weight. And even though Fedor has seen just about every person in the heavyweight division over the last, I don't know how many years he's been competing. It's been about 20 years for Fedor. Let me pull up my phone here. I'm going to pull a Rob and just look it up real quick so I can just be sure about how long Fedor's been competing, because I've been hearing the name for a very long time. I knew at least from about 2006 or so, and that's when he was at the top of his game. Oh, the daggone autocorrect changed my... But while I'm looking that up, I'm going to keep talking about what each guy can do to win that fight. Now, Fedor comes from a combat sambo background, which is a very, very effective martial art that he's used to brutal precision in MMA. Now, Matt Mitrione is a pretty basic all-around guy, but he's tough, he's got a good chin, and he can usually outlast guys and use his stamina to overpower them late. This one, I think, like I said earlier, he may be catching Fedor at the right time. He hasn't competed in a while. He hasn't competed against a top guy in a while. And while neither has Mitrione, he's a bit fresher, and I think he's going to pull this one out. So I'm going with Mitrione, and probably what would be considered an upset because of the stature of Emelianenko. All right, so let's talk about this main event. We've got Chael Sonnen, Wanderlei Silva in a light heavyweight grudge match that's been brewing for, I want to say like 3 or 4 years now, maybe even longer. These guys have gotten into physical altercations in public. They have traded insults in various media outlets, personal YouTube videos, you name it. And now they finally get to settle their differences in the cage. Now for Wanderlei Silva, he hasn't competed in 4 years. And Chael Sonnen has been on and off since in that time frame as well. But he has been the more active fighter. As far as style and skill clashes, we've got one highly decorated wrestler in Chael Sonnen, and then you have a highly decorated mixed martial artist and vaunted striker in Wanderlei Silva. So this can go a few ways. One is Sonnen takes him down, is able to control him for the majority of the bout and take a decision, or he gets caught at some point making a mistake and either gets knocked out or submitted like he usually does. And I would usually go that way because one, Chael Sonnen has never actually stepped up and won against like elite competition and has looked very bad against elite competition at that. But when you kind of take into account that Silva hasn't competed at all in the last 4 years, I think it gives Sonnen a chance. But given his track record, he finds some way to lose a fight when it's all said and done. So because of that, I'm going with Silva. I think Wanderlei is able to catch him. I think Chael Sonnen is going to go for the takedown immediately. But Silva has a very underrated grappling game, and he'll probably catch Sonnen making a mistake and submit him if he doesn't catch him coming in, when he's going for one of those takedowns. As far as entertainment value, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I do not think it goes the distance, and I do think Wanderlei Silva ends up coming out with the victory, his first fight in 4 years, because of Chael Sonnen's just inability to show up in big fights. It's I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but every single time that he's in there with a high level guy, he finds some way to blow it. And I expect the same thing here. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick breakdown. I tried to be as quick and informational as possible, especially since I don't have Rob with me to throw things back and forth with. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Make sure you like this video. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe, because you know we got extensive boxing coverage. We'll do more MMA coverage, and I also want to start doing some more kickboxing coverage. So we're definitely going to be living up to the name Capital of Combat. Hit us up on YouTube, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere that you partake in social media, we're there. And we'll see you guys next week, where we'll be talking about Manny Pacquiao and Jeff Horn and a welterweight title showdown that's airing live on ESPN. So until then, guys, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire, I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage, keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane, I told them I don't play, I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.